don't use a rusty pail. Hey guys, it's Phil from smilinggardener.com. If you haven't picked up my free online organic gardening course, you can do that right on the homepage of smilinggardener.com. Today, we're moving on to soil sample testing through a soil lab. This is a step that most people don't do, that is so important if you want to grow really healthy, nutrient-dense, mineralized food, or if you want to have all your plants be free of pests and you don't ever have to spray anything ever again. This is a very important step to doing that. And here's why it's important. What most gardeners will do is they'll use a lot of compost, especially if they're organic gardeners, get a lot of compost on there. It certainly does have some nutrients in it if it's good compost. And then they'll also use some fertilizers, especially NPK fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, or maybe some kind of more of a broad spectrum fertilizer. But really, when you're doing that, you're guessing as to what your soil needs. And the chances are extremely good that you're putting some minerals on there that your soil already has too much of, and that maybe you're not adding certain minerals that your soil really needs. So it's just like in the human body. We need to get a certain balance of all the minerals in the soil in order to have healthy food, and that's the two main things I always think of: healthy food, pest-free plants. So here's how you take a sample. First, I clear off any organic debris, any mulch. And then I want to take a sample starting at the surface and going down 6 or 7 inches. So I do that with a very clean shovel. I don't want to have a rusty shovel, just like I don't want to have a rusty pail that I put this in, because that will influence the soil results. So I go down in there. And sometimes what I do, makes it a little easier, is I'll take that first shovel and kind of throw it aside. And that way it makes it much easier to take just a slice, because I really want to get the full depth of soil down to 6 or so inches. Then when I have that, I put it into my very clean pail, and that pail didn't have any fertilizer or salt or anything in it, because that would also affect the results. One really important part of this here is to take samples from a few different spots in your garden. If you have a really weird spot in your garden, you would either leave that out or test it separately. But for all your garden parts of your garden that are the same, take a few samples, mix them together. That way you're going to get a more representative sample of your garden. Mix them together in here, then you just take a couple of cups, put it into a Ziploc bag, send that off to the lab. When it comes to soil labs, you can go with your local lab, and they may even have some local knowledge. But what I found is that they're almost always chemically minded. They're coming at soil from a very conventional way, which is very different than organic. So what I do is I ship my soil sample to an organic lab. The two I often recommend are Crop Services International and International Ag Labs, but there are a lot more. It's a little hard, in the US you can find a lot. It can be a little more difficult in other parts of the world, including Canada, to find a good lab. But if you can find them where they're giving organic results, that's wonderful. I have a little bit more written in the article below about some other things I look for in a lab, so you can read that to help you find a really good lab. If you have any questions at all about soil testing, you can ask them down below and I'll answer them. If you're on my website and you haven't subscribed to my free online course yet, you can do that down below. If you're on Facebook, you can click the like button. That is, of course, if you like me. And if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe up above, and I'll see you next time.